Our jails are packed with people suffering from severe mental illness. It's the result of a decision 25 years ago to shut down more than a dozen state psychiatric hospitals.
Mental health care advocates say the cost-saving measure backfired. Tonight, a News 10 investigation into this gap in mental health care. A warning, some of what you are about to hear is disturbing.
911.
It took just a minute and a half for a mental health crisis to turn deadly.
Right now he's holding a utility knife at his neck.
In May, at their home in Lansing, a mother calls 911 to save her son from suicide.
Does he still have the knife?
Yes, he has it to his neck. He's in a lot of pain.
Within seconds, the son turns on his mother.
I can't stop it.
Did he stab you?
42-year-old Brandon Labrie is now behind bars, charged with open murder. His father still trying to process how this could happen.
I've seen a lot of things in my life, and it was, in my opinion, preventable.
Steve Labrie spent more than 30 years as a registered nurse in state-run psychiatric hospitals. He says for years his son suffered from chronic pain and frequent seizures, the result of a car accident. Just weeks before the deadly attack, Brandon tried to kill himself by overdose. His father visited him in the hospital.
I said, "Hey, Brandon, I have that hug for you." And he stood up, and when he did, I saw something I had never seen. And when he stood up, his fists were clenching. He was trembling, and the look on his face was just evil.
Labrie says the nurses assured him they were waiting to get Brandon in a long-term mental health bed, but that never happened.
I think a lot of us still have this notion that a hospital stay is like the old-fashioned days, right? If I have a psychotic episode, I'll get put in the hospital for months, a year, or more. Typical stay is 7 to 10 days because it's meant to stabilize people.
Bob Sheehan has worked in mental health for decades. He says the system is not set up to incarcerate people against their will.
We don't want to take those civil liberties away. So we also find it doesn't have a medical efficacy beyond several days of stabilization.
But just days after getting out of the hospital, Brandon Labrie found himself in the same place many others with mental illness end up, behind bars.
The structure of our mental health system is just broken.
Rachel Murray co-founded an online support group for parents of children with severe or complex mental illnesses. About 800 parents help each other navigate Michigan's mental health care system, a system she says was defunded decades ago.
We're not doing it right in Michigan, and it hasn't worked, and it hasn't been working for a long time. And so now we have this backlog of all of these people who have not gotten the treatment that they've needed.
Murray says to get that help, chronic mental health patients have to travel out of state and be able to pay for it out of pocket.
We're talking about high-level intensive care for people who are a danger to themselves or a danger to other people, who need intensive treatment.
A lot of commercial insurance doesn't pay for state-of-the-art mental health treatment. They pay for outpatient psychotherapy, talk therapy, and medications. But we know that especially if someone has schizophrenia or bipolar or major depression, you need a lot of other modalities.
He says Medicaid does pay for some of those services, but it's not available to everyone. Caregivers and families say dealing with behavioral health is not only taxing, the system is a confusing maze with a lot of dead ends.
Honestly, I think you will get more information and more help by reaching out to another parent who has been through this, because you can talk to professionals in every area and they know their area, but they don't have a picture of the whole system.
For Steve Labrie, it's too late. We talked with him outside the Ingham County Jail, where his son Brandon sits in a cell alone. His criminal hearings delayed until state psychiatrists can evaluate his mental health.
He was good. He was always very mellow.
A son facing life behind bars, a mother whose life was cut too short, and a father in the dark as to what kind of mental health care his son will get.
My guess is, if he is, it's minimal. And I wish I had those answers. I wish I knew.
As far as state support, right now Michigan operates 5 inpatient psychiatric hospitals that serve nearly 650 patients. It will soon merge patients from 2 older facilities into a brand new hospital in Northville.
An amazing story. And for those you talk to, do they have hope for change for the future?
Well, there is a silver lining. They say that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, younger people are talking openly about mental health, and they will be our policymakers in the future.
Yeah, amazing story.